This video will demonstrate how to use the 6.5-inch rag circle die from AccuQuilt to make a faux cathedral windows placemat. Cut your fabric at least 7.5 inches wide. If using denim, only cut one layer at a time, but if using flannel or fleece, you may cut up to 2 layers. For each placemat, you'll need 12 circles, 12 5-inch squares, and 12 3 11/16 of an inch fusible fleece squares. Divide your circles into rows of 4. Place the first circle in each row wrong side up, and draw a line between the notch in the top right-hand corner and the notch in the bottom right-hand corner. Pin the first and second circles in each row right sides together. Stitch along this line, back stitching at the beginning and the ending of the seam. Draw a line on the wrong side of the fabric between the top and bottom right-hand notches of the second circle. Pin the second and third circles in the row right sides together. Stitch along this line, remembering to backstitch at the beginning and the ending of the seam. To add the final circle in the row, draw a line along the right-hand notches of the third circle. Pin the third and fourth circle in the row together, right sides together, and stitch along this line. When complete, you'll have 3 rows of 4 circles each. Center a 3 11/16 of an inch fusible fleece square inside each circle, fusible side facing up. Center a 5-inch fabric square on top of the fleece square. Press the flaps open and press the fabric squares to the adhesive side of the fleece. Tuck any excess fabrics up underneath the flaps. Pin the flaps down in preparation for sewing. Stitch 3/8 of an inch away from the frayed edges of the flaps. Here you can see all of the rows have their flaps stitched down. To sew the rows together, place a ruler along the flat edge of the notches in each row. Draw a line along the length of the row. Pin row 1 to row 2, fabric squares facing out. Stitch along this line. Remember to backstitch at the beginning and ending of the seam. In addition, backstitch over the notches. Press the flaps open. Repeat this process, placing a ruler along the flat edge of the notches, sewing row 2 to row 3. When complete, you'll need to sew down these rows. Stitch 3/8 of an inch away from the frayed edges of the flaps, this time alternating between both sides of the flaps. When you get to the end of the row, pivot and sew back up the other side, sewing along the opposite sides of the flaps. Notice how the frayed edges have been left open. To finish the outside edges, press the circle flaps over 1 inch. Pin and sew 3/8 of an inch from the frayed edges. We're almost done. To finish, roughen the frayed edges with a stiff bristled brush. This can be done in lieu of washing and drying, and there we go.